the Empire State Building, one of the most iconic buildings in the entire world. People can point out its shape anywhere across the globe. It was built in 1931, and it was the tallest structure that you could see anywhere near this area that led to a huge skyscraper boom. However, the views, as magnificent they are from the bottom, they are even more magnificent up top. So let's take a trip to the very top of the Empire State Building. Now, before we go up top, we have to notice the shape of the building because it's rather unique, and it's very indicative of all the other skyscrapers in New York City and many other cities abroad. If you notice, it is tiered, set back. Looks like a little bit like a wedding cake. Some people might say it looks like a ziggurat. The reason for that is back in 1915, the Equitable Building was constructed in downtown Manhattan. The Equitable Building was straight from the floor straight up to top to the very ceiling. It caused a canyon of shadow. People did not like that. They thought that New York City was going to be consumed in darkness, at least on the sidewalk levels, because of these huge skyscrapers. So in 1916, New York City passed the zoning resolution, the setback laws, requiring skyscrapers to be set back after each certain height. After a specific height of enough setbacks, they can go as high as they want to. But the main point for that was to allow light to enter the sidewalk, so we are not so entrenched in the shadow as the Equitable Building is. Thus, we have the setbacks. However, even after zoning loosened, it still became a very popular style. And this was adopted in Chicago, Shanghai, and many cities around the world. There's the entrance. Let's go. Hey. Hey, how's it going? Thank you. Awesome. And up we go. We just took the elevator, went by really quickly. We're now on the 80th floor. So I'm so excited to show you. Oh, wow. Look at this. So this is just one of three different observation areas. We're going to go soon to the main observation deck, the one that people most know, and the one featured in countless movies. But we're seeing Hudson Yards. We're seeing all the beautiful, gorgeous architecture of New York City. But stay tuned. We're going to go up. Let me not ruin it. What I should show you here, because we can't see it at the best perspective from up above, is the Art Deco Elements. Art Deco was an architectural style developed in the early 1900s. It was a response to the overwhelming amount of Beaux Arts architecture that was surrounding the city. It was called the City Beautiful movement. It was a mishmash of classical styles. Good examples of Beaux Arts is the Flatiron Building. We have the New York Life Insurance Building, the MetLife Building right down there. People were getting tired of that style and they wanted something modern. They wanted something that would be from the future. So they developed as future as they could get in terms of a 1930s perspective. So we have these Art Deco elements, a little bit more abstractions in the design, smoother, kind of rounder edges, as we see right down there. Oh, that's so cool. And one other thing, because don't worry, you're gonna see a lot better views up above, is right over here. See all the different directions. We got Times Square that way, we got Central Park, Grand Central, we got Brooklyn, Statue of Liberty. And you could use, because it's COVID, they have it closed up, but you could use it to see all the different areas. And they tell you, Brooklyn Bridge, Coney Island, House of Yes. That's funny that they recommend House of Yes. And we have United Nations over here directly. And we have this beautiful, wonderful sketch mural, wallpaper, all around us. All right, without further ado, let's go up to the main floor. So here we have all the old postcards, all the old brochures of the Empire State Building, newspaper clippings. Let's go this way. All right, we're gonna take the elevator, see you up on the 86th floor. So excited. And here we are on the 86th floor, on the observation deck, outdoors. And oh my God. No, this is awesome. Look at that. So what, down there we see One Vanderbilt, which has Grand Central Terminal right below.
It doesn't come out. So I do it and it pops out right away.
Got outdoor heating, which is great for now wintertime. It's getting warmer, luckily. And there we have the marvelous Chrysler Building. Now the Chrysler Building is another fine example of Art Deco architecture. It was the tallest building before the Empire State Building beat it. Just a year and change, it was the tallest building. Right down there we also see the Queensboro Bridge, which connects Manhattan and Queens, and we're starting to see the new skyline of Long Island City there in the distance. Over here we see the new super skinny skyscrapers of New York. We have the very first one to be built, which is 257 Park, if I recall correctly. Always get the number mixed up because they don't call it after names, they usually call them after their addresses. However, I do know the Central Park Tower right down there, which is actually the highest ceiling height for any building right now in New York City. But the Freedom Tower does beat it, and also the Empire State Building does beat it because of its spire. We have the Steinway Tower, we have the MoMA Tower, we have a few other major towers right down there. And oh my God, you gotta look down. Whew, it's a sharp drop. So right above, we see the spire and the antenna of the Empire State Building. There's actually another observation deck up there. Highly recommend checking it out. But the other cool thing is, there, one of the original intentions, no one knows if this is actually 100% accurate, whether it was more of a marketing stunt or whether it was real, but we intended to land Zeppelins over here, and the 102nd floor was going to be, and the 103rd was going to be like a customs area for people traveling via Zeppelins, huge blimps, or also known as dirigibles. So that was going to be a dirigible landing mast. Did not quite work out because, as you notice, there's high winds up here. And it's very dangerous to have a pointy object right next to high winds. So there we're starting to see the new skyline also popping up for Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and Williamsburg there in the distance, so that's all Brooklyn. And on a clear day, you can see all the way to the coast of Coney Island, which we kind of can see today, almost. It's a bit hazy. The FDR Drive is all along down there. In 1811, all this was carved up into a grid system. It was called the Commissioner's Plan. And the reason it was carved up into a grid system is because New York City was getting very crowded, especially right over here. I'm going to show it to you. Here we see the marvelous Flatiron Building. It was going to be 100 stories tall in 1929, but then the Great Depression struck. So they quite didn't complete it, and we just now stuck on a 25-story building, 75 stories. So imagine a huge spaces like snow. Almost as big as that. And then we have the New York Officers Building with a beautiful is so great because it's this triangular building that is a huge bridge between 23rd Street and 5th Avenue. It's really wonderful. You can see it perfectly from this side. And right down there, we see the views of downtown Manhattan. Of course, the tallest building right now in New York City by antenna height is the Freedom Tower. And that was the area that was getting way too crowded by 1811. Now, of course, there were no skyscrapers. There were mostly maximum 2-story buildings, maximum 3. But it was a mishmash. It was no grid. The street planning was following even Native American routes, or what the Dutch made when they first came here in the 1600s. So they wanted to make something more uniform so the city can grow neatly and also rise up property values. Now, one of the plans was to make New York City more like Paris or like Washington, D.C. with a long thought plan where it has a bunch of crisscross diagonals and circles. That quite didn't work out. Why is that? It would have been a very beautiful view if you would have seen crisscrosses and circles, right? It might be confusing. So one thing is, it's a little bit hard to navigate. The other thing is that according to their studies in 1811, they ended up finding out that right-angle properties sold for much more money, so it's harder to build on a diagonal. Let's step out here now again. Oh, don't look down. I'm just kidding. Do look down. It's kind of cool, especially with this camera. So we can kind of see the High Line pop out a little bit. And there in the distance, we do see the beautiful Statue of Liberty, and right next to it, Ellis Island. And right next to it was another area. It was like a area to hold Navy weapons and ammunitions and things like that. And there was a massive explosion called the Black Tom explosion. And right there, obliterated an entire island. See New Jersey? Jersey City there, of course, has its own skyline. And here we can see a really cool perspective of new construction projects because Nomad, this is the neighborhood of North of Madison, short for Nomad for short. And it has a lot of new construction projects that are, a lot of new hotels have popped up, but we see a few empty lots. You can see how the city keeps on growing, despite it being more than 400 years old, around there. Impressive. And all the water towers down there as well. So, we have a grid system, but what's up with these triangular plots of land like the Flatiron? Well, that, you actually have to go to Broadway. Later, Broadway was extended to connect two different roads. The original Broadway and Bloomingdale Road, which was further uptown. We're going to see Hudson Yards. So this is Hudson Yards, one of the most expensive private developments in American history. The low-end number's $19 billion. High-end number now is going up to more than $25 billion to build this entire complex of high-rise skyscrapers. It's nothing new in New York City because we have Rockefeller Center. However, it is extremely expensive. And also very impressive that the city has an entire new set of skyscrapers pop up in this crowded island that stuffs, 800,000 people? And the city overall has 8 million people into 5 boroughs. Manhattan being one of them. Right down there we see the round structure that is the monstrosity known as Madison Square Garden, at least architecturally speaking. And right behind that we have the new Moynihan Station, which you can see that kind of square, a rectangular building that's a lot lower. We have 34th Street down here, and we have more Broadway crisscrossing through here. So Broadway is right down here again. the largest department store in all of New York City, one of the largest department stores in history, is here, Macy's. Almost encompasses an entire block, except that one corner right down there. That they don't own that corner. That corner was bought out by their competition, A.T. Stewart, as a spite. So Macy's couldn't own the entire block. Macy's still doesn't own that block. It's now a Sunglass Hut. And they just leased the roof so they can put their sign on it. Make it look like they own the entire block. And let's end over here.
What do you got there?
This is a 360 camera, but let me finish filming because,
okay.
yeah. So, a lot of people like this 360 camera. Here is Times Square right there in the distance. And there is the majesty of New York. Absolutely love it. You can continue going round and round. There's inside areas, but highly recommend coming throughout this entire building. It's filled with so much wonder, and you can take your sweet, sweet time. If you want to watch my longer videos where I take a little bit longer time if you're unable to come, check out my previous live videos. I have a bunch of live videos about the Empire State Building. Search Empire State Building Urbanist and you'll find them. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in. I'm Ariel with Urbanist. Keep being awesome and always keep on exploring.